Okay, so welcome back to another episode of Mamak Muscles, where we look into athletes of Malaysia and also people who are physically active in Malaysia. So today I'm very happy to have Mr. Alex here, who is a certified bodybuilder, also once a sports psychologist, head of sports psychologist in basically the MSN, and also now a lecturer in IMU.
Yeah.
Welcome, Mr. Alex.
Well, thanks for having me. When I heard about this topic and heard about this opportunity, I'm like, I got to be part of this. So thanks for inviting me.
Yeah,
Cool.
happy to have you here.
Thank you.
Okay. So, would you like to share more about yourself, Mr. Alex?
Okay. I have been interested in fitness all my life. I started working out in my own home gym set about 16 years old, and I have actually been continuing that. Now I'm 52. So I've been working out for 30 plus years. And one of the things I've learned is that it's a lifestyle. It's not something that you do to achieve a particular aim, like, oh, I just want to look good, but actually when it becomes a lifestyle, then you incorporate in part of who you are and the essence of who you are, and that actually has a downstream effect on everything else. So I just want to take this opportunity to share those things as well. Now, along the way, I've actually gotten my certifications through the Academy Kejurulatihan Kebangsaan Malaysia as a bodybuilding coach. I'm actually going for level 2 next week actually, and I've also taken sports science courses as well. And the reason is because I wanted to get qualified and accredited so that whenever I speak to people or I coach people, I actually have the official license from the Malaysian government to actually speak on behalf of that. So I just wanted to give gravity and weight towards my knowledge and skills and abilities as well, in order to share this with all of you actually.
Okay, yeah. Alright, thanks for sharing, Mr. Alex.
Okay.
Just now you had mentioned that you've basically, this is basically 30 years of you in this industry. So can you just share a bit of your kind of like you in this industry itself, as in like what do you do to keep your fitness?
Okay, maybe I start off with a pet peeve, and this can go on the TikTok shorts. I guess what I'm saying here is this: when I go to a gym, and even when I was younger, because I was part of the group, as a young guy when I started working out, I'll be honest, I trained for vanity. I wanted to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. I wanted to have the big bulging biceps. I thought all the girls would come flocking to me. That's what I thought. The reality is far from the truth. When you get bigger and stronger, the guys come to you, not the girls. That's a fact.
Yeah,
so let's get out of the way. But other than that, the reality is also this. When you train for aesthetics, as I think what motivates a lot of people, that's fantastic. You get involved, you get active. But is that sustaining? Is that going to? Is usually people who train for aesthetics may not have the intensity to actually build real world strength. They may not have the outcome or the output of longevity and long term training, because once they achieve a particular size or particular shape or look, then they just want to keep and maintain that. So nowadays, now that I'm much older and when I work out in the gym currently, what I see is the people who still primarily train for aesthetics only, which is fine, don't get me wrong, because you still are very, very active, but that doesn't necessarily translate to real world strength, and particularly as you age, your strength will drop. So if you don't train for strength and you keep pumping the light weights, you will look good, don't get me wrong, you will. Problem is, once you get beyond 30s and your 40s, your hormonal levels will drop, and once it drops, your muscle mass, your retention will also drop. But what you drop is not just the size, it's also the strength, which you never really built up in the first place. So when I see younger people train nowadays primarily for aesthetics, the muscles will grow. Yes, because you can grow muscles anywhere from 5 to 35 reps. But if you don't subject it to heavy enough weight or don't train for strength, your tendons and ligaments don't grow along with your muscles. So that's why you see a lot of horror videos online about muscle being torn, when they try to lift heavier, as an example. So that what I'm saying is the muscle size doesn't translate to muscle strength, and what you lose a lot when you're aging and you're 30s onwards is not just size but mostly strength. So if you don't build a base of strength, you're going to be left with a weak body at the end of the day. You may look good, but it's not really translatable to actual daily real life activities. So that's what I'm trying to maybe debunk a myth here, that when you train, might as well you also train in the lower rep ranges and also work towards strength and not just aesthetics along the way. So you get the benefit of both actually.
Yeah, that's really true. You know, like when you, as you keep on talking about like the longevity and also like in terms of aspect of building strength, especially towards the older age, right? Kind of like it brought me to the mind of like, you know, how people say it, that once you get a wife, you initially you have the very good physique, but once you get a wife, you start to have a dad bod, and then your physique starts to drop. So I mean, as you are still maintaining this physique right here, I guess that's not the case. So can you like explain to us what is this concept of like longevity
Okay.
in yourself?
So yeah, tons of videos online. You just search and then you see, before marriage, the guy is good looking, chiseled, 6 abs. Then after that, 1 ab. So the reality is, again, if you train for aesthetics, you will get attention, for sure. But I started training, once I got out of that early stage, I started realizing that I wanted to train for strength, I wanted to train for longevity, even though when I was quite young. The reason is because I started realizing, maybe it's my leverages, maybe my arms and legs a bit short, and I started lifting heavier than the others. And I started realizing that everybody should kind of train according to their strengths. So for me, with my, so to say, a bit shorter limbs and shorter arms and legs, I started being better in my leverage, which means that I could lift heavier than the average person. But that wasn't what motivated me. What motivated me was that goal. Every time I came to the gym, I wanted to lift one more repetition more or add a little bit more weight. Because the thing is, once you compare yourself with other people, right? I mean, I'll be honest, I hate how God has given unfair genetics to some people. They just come to the gym and their shoulders are just so naturally broad. They are just naturally lean. Their waist is so tiny. I'm like, oh gosh, I'm jealous of you. And I started realizing early on, there is no way, nothing I could ever do to train in any way to look like that. So I changed my goals to, let's see what I can do instead to the best of my ability. And I started comparing myself to myself rather than to others. So what I started realizing was I'm naturally a bit stronger than others. So I started going with that instead. Whatever the outcome of how I looked, that was very secondary. Because for me, improvement in terms of repetitions and improvement of strength, that was the goal. So even particularly nowadays, again, when I go to the gym right now, there is no one that lifts like me at my age group. No one. Okay? And I'm not saying this to boast. I'm saying this because I've had this mentality from young and I've maintained that. So what has maintained me is that continuous goal of improvement. Comparing myself to myself. Because I will never be able to have the structure or the look of particular people just because of their natural bone structure. There's no way I can manage to do anything to even come close to that. So I'm not even comparing that because that's an impossibility. But I'm going to maximize whatever I have. So as I started doing this more and more, I started uncovering research such as, because by the way, I'm a lifetime natural, just to clarify matters, okay? And one of the things I started doubting was, once I hit my 30s, was that, okay, this is the time you start going down. This is the time your body starts, getting smaller and getting weaker. And I found that not to be the case. And actually I was very surprised. I give you an example. When I was in my 30s, when I got married, my body was about 74 kilograms. I'm now 97. Okay?
Wow.
How did I manage to grow over the years when technically, physiologically, you're going down in terms of your hormonal levels, in terms of your recovery, everything's going down. How did I go up instead? And then I started hitting on a few key characteristics. One, and which kept motivating me, is to keep learning about things that work for me. And I started to see that things that work for me would also work for others, such as the amount of the exercises that you choose. You want it to be compound exercises. Really like squats, bench presses and stuff like that, because you cover a lot of muscle group at once. One key thing, guys, that you may not be aware of once you get older, and particularly once you get married, is that you have less and less time. You add a kid into it, kiss your time goodbye. Okay? So what you're left with is pockets of time where you can squeeze out the most effective workout in the shortest amount of time. You do not have the luxury of hour, 2 hour, 3 hours in the gym every day of the week. You don't have that. So what I'm doing right now is just 3 hours in the gym, very specific exercises, cover as much muscle groups as I possibly can in the shortest amount of time with the heaviest amount of weight, and then I go home and rest. Okay, because I need that rest as well. But that's what also drives me, because I do that rather than stay in the gym for long amounts of time, working out for many sets as an example. Yes, my body's going to look slightly differently than the rest. But this way, I can sustain it. And this is another thing, a key I found out, consistency. I see people coming in right after New Year's. Everybody's got New Year resolution. I'm going to change my body this year. I'm going to work out this year. I also see, I'm getting married. Start working out. I also see, Hari Raya's coming. Chinese New Year coming. I get to get into the outfit. I need to fit into that dress. But after that, boom, everybody goes back to normal.
Yeah.
So that's not sustainable. So what I'm starting to see is, if I can do something that keeps me in the gym, where I enjoy things, I push myself, I try to increase the rep, try to increase the set, try to increase the weight, and compare myself to myself, I make continuous progress. I'm consistent in the gym compared to other people who come in for a particular reason, and once they reach that goal, they give up. So that's not a lifestyle. So what I've done is taken this as a lifestyle. So I've actually had, I've been working out at home for over 30 years. I've had gym sets at home. Okay, and I only started joining an actual gym about 2.5 years ago. That was it. Okay, so I've actually made a lot of progress along the way because I've had this mentality which keeps things very basic exercises, heavy weight, and pushing myself. But I cannot deny, ever since I started joining a gym with more machines, more equipment, and safety bars, thank God for that, I'm willing to even push even more, because in case the bar falls back, I won't lose control. I can lock it in, as an example. So I'm actually even more brave now. And I'm actually at my strongest and my biggest at 52 compared to any other time in my life.
Wow.
Which actually doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But it's actually happening.
Okay, so one word that strikes me is impressive. Yeah, okay, so I understand the concept of people who just come to the gym. I've worked in a gym before, and January 1st of January,
right.
you see it's packed. Then the next day it's still packed. The next week,
slightly lesser. Usually by February, because Chinese New Year kicks in, and then we have to go for the visiting and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, what I'm saying is, I think it's, if people can get into the gym, not necessarily, even if it's not the gym, but you can start working out consistently, that's the goal. But the key that's missing right now is sustainability and consistency. If you force yourself to achieve a particular outcome, and it's too hard, too much, as how I think many coaches do things, then it scares people off. I'll give you one perfect example. Guys, I'm so sorry if this is you, but I'm going to say it out anyway. I cannot stand guys who bring in their girlfriends to the gym and torture them. Okay, that's not fair. Okay, because I will see the guys doing the exercises that they are strong in and passing the bar to the girlfriend. The girlfriend doesn't even know how to do the exercise, and you're giving a heavy weight. For what? Why are you trying to scare someone away? Make them feel fearful when you're trying to inculcate something positive and sustainable long term. Not to mention, I also see them giving, I'm so sorry again, ridiculous exercises like front raisers. Why you want a girlfriend to do front raisers for? Just because you can do a bunch of heavy weights on front raisers doesn't mean she should. Alright? So I see the people who, with good intention but no knowledge, they will actually take the same things that they are doing that's suitable for them, and then they ask their partner to do it as well. It's a very wrong way, because we need to personalize it based upon the needs, but also what the body is capable of. So a very simple example here, males are stronger in the upper body than females. Females are stronger in the lower body than males. Okay? Just physiologically, that's how we're structured. So for the males out there who want to bring in your partners and show them stuff, please make it appropriate for them. And let them emphasize more on the lower body, because that's where they're naturally stronger. You want to encourage them to be consistent. You want to get positive feedback and positive reinforcement for them to keep doing this on their own. But eventually, ideally, work with a good coach to personalize the workout program. What works for you doesn't necessarily work for your partner.
Yeah, I would just like to bring us back a bit. In terms of your goal, you started off with wanting to look good.
Yeah, sure.
Right, but in a way, your physique doesn't, your genetic and your physique doesn't allow that,
yep.
Right? Yeah, at the end of the day, you switch from that goal of the idea of wanting to look good towards something which you are strong at, which is actually to slowly progress on.
Yeah.
Alright? Yeah. So, the idea that people actually, you want to look good, and then they got maybe a girlfriend or a wife, and then they start to decline, right? So the thing is that it kind of shows that they do not want to sustain it in a sense, because they have achieved their goal. Their goal is to look good, and then to get something, for example. Yeah, so like what is it that makes you keep on going in terms of this sustainability?
I'm still vain. I still want to look good. And I started comparing myself to people in my age group. Okay?
Okay.
But not just in terms of looks. I'm actually comparing myself more in terms of output. Okay? Like if I'm going to say this statement, I'm not going to break it down for you, but it's going to sound weird. But this is the kind of way of thinking I'm doing. I can lift up to 8,000 kilograms in 1 hour.
How do you calculate this 8,000?
Okay, so let me break it down.
Break it down.
Okay, so I don't go by how much I bench press or something. I know. I go by total amount of volume done in a set amount of time. So I'll give you an example. I do the incline bench press. Okay, my top weight is 100 kilograms. Okay, I normally do about 6 to 7 reps. So that would be 100. That would be 6 to 700 kilograms in that sense, one set. But I also work up towards that. So I got my warm-up sets and everything counted in. Okay, I do the leg press. I do the leg press about 140 kilograms. Okay, then you gain times 10. So it's 1,400 already. I do my back's very strong. I do my lat pull downs at 100 kilograms. I do my bend over rows at 110 kilograms. I do my calf raises at 140 kilograms. What else is there? I do my tricep extensions with full stack at 45 kilograms. Okay, I do my barbell curls at 40 kilograms. And I'm not talking about one rep, I'm talking about a full set. Now, of course, I work up towards that. But you add all that up, 8,000 kilograms in 1 hour. So when I look at power output over time, right? That gives me the confidence. Okay, so let me explain something. That kind of output has given me the confidence to be able to handle life's challenges and difficulties from a psychological perspective. If I can do something in a physical sense and it's quantifiable and I can see an improvement, that shows that I can actually face things from a psychological aspect as well. Because basically what I'm doing is I'm subjecting my body to controlled stresses. Okay? And if I don't overdo it, my body will adapt and get even stronger as a result. But in that process of doing it and proving to myself I can live more, I can live longer, I can live stronger, it also changes my mindset to actually make it stronger, to believe that whatever the challenges are, if I break it down by step and I do the reps, I put in the reps, I do the repetitions, I do the weight, I do the work that's needed to get to a particular end goal, it also changes my mindset. And that has given me a tremendous amount of confidence over the years, actually. So this is something that's very reinforcing for me. When I can do it, it gives me more confidence even. Now, having said that, I don't push for maximum strength anymore. Okay, I've had injuries. That's another side effect. Okay, I'll be honest about that as well. But one of the things I try to do is I try to maintain my working weight even when I feel down and low for that day. I may drop the reps, I may drop the sets, but I will lift the same weight just to keep that strength going. So that's why I'm able to maintain that. So again, there are down times I will drop my weights. I will drop my sets, I will drop my reps, but I'll never drop my weight. Yeah, so that the strength remains. And strength is something that keeps for a very long time. Size will drop very fast, but strength remains. You can actually lose size in 2 weeks if you don't work out. But strength, you don't work out for 2 months, 1 to 2 months, then only your strength starts to drop. That's why it's more sustainable. So I'm looking more for something that's long term, working more on strength base rather than size base. But along with the strength comes the size.
Yeah. Okay, actually adding on to the injury part.
Yeah, sure.
Because actually, right, okay, in terms of strength and also look, right, actually, because I'm facing actually a knee injury right now, actually. And I'm actually surprised that I'm still jumping high, even though I've not 2 weeks of doing heavy weights and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, strength remains.
Yeah.
Not to mention muscle memory is there as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But please never ever push yourself when you have injuries, because I just pushed myself yesterday. I got it slightly worse again. Maybe it's better because the adaptation of the exercise that I used was different.
Yeah.
But it made it a bit inflamed again. So,
I hear you. I have a bit of that mindset. No pain, no gain. Not necessarily the most right way to do things. But let me share with you some things as well. One thing I've gotten very good, I would say, over the years is adjusting my exercises to work around injuries. Okay? So I take an example of the bench press. I've never liked the bench press because it just naturally hurts my shoulders. But I started realizing, and then when I put the incline bench press to about 45 degrees, it hurts my shoulders even more. And nobody taught me this, but I started shifting the bench downward to about 20 to 30 degrees, and it just fit me. Eventually, I also got other shoulder injuries due to other reasons, but then I started realizing that it's not just the angle, it's also the width, and it's where I place the bar. Okay, so I started doing this and modifying each and every exercise that I do. Like for example, like the leg press, where I put my feet up or how wide I'll put it. I'll keep adjusting to find something that works. Yeah. But even if I find something that works, guess what? Your body gets used to that amount of stimuli and stress, and then it could overdevelop certain parts and then underdevelop other parts. Yeah. So now you have to readjust again.
The term of like Arnold, where you say like shock me muscle, right?
Yeah, but with intention and clarity. So again, for actually many years, I couldn't do the straight bar barbell curl. It would just hurt my wrist. But what I did was, then for years I did the easy bar curl, and then my wrist got better. Now I only use the straight bar, and it get even better contraction on the biceps, as an example. So I adjust accordingly. So I never use a particular exercise the same way over and over again, even though it's the best or what works for me, because that will keep changing depending on how my body adapts. So every time I adapt, I have to re-adapt back. So that's what actually makes it quite exciting for me, that I have a whole series of exercises and angles, so that if I have an injury, I can work around it but still be active. For example, about a year plus ago, I actually hurt my bicep pretty bad. And what I did was I just did hammer curls all the way, and it worked. My biceps remained the same size, and it didn't go down. But also, I didn't have to, supinate my wrist, as an example, and it worked. But then also, when I chose my back exercises, I would vary the width so that it wouldn't hurt my biceps as well. So when you have a lot of knowledge about how the body actually works, you can make adjustments so you keep making progress. That's the key. That's another key for consistency.
Well, I guess like this comes under like in terms of also your own body physiology, right? Because everybody has different physiology, and like the typical like squat stance, right? Like how wide, how narrow, how out pointed you are.
Yeah.
So in terms of leg press, I truly agree, because I myself, I do single leg press rather than two legs.
Right.
And depending on where I put it, right, it structs differently.
Yes.
Yeah, I would prefer like this certain position for sure.
But as I said again, once you stick to a particular position which just feels right for you, after some time, your body gets used to that. Then if you shift out a little bit, right? For example, I don't know you're in volleyball. Sorry, volleyball. The macho way. Okay. And if you I'll give you an example. So if you put a leg press in a particular angle all the time, the moment if you do it in volleyball and you get out of alignment, as in a dynamic type of sport, and that's not in the strength curve for the exercise, that's going to be exposing a weak point. But if you keep varying the width, the angle, the heights for the leg press, you kind of cover the bases so that when you jump and take off at multiple angles, you're still covered because you covered the bases. So you're basically strengthening the weak points there as much as you can.
Okay. Actually, I'm very curious, like if I were to bring back us this like your PRs, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you mentioned that.
By the way, those are not my PRs.
I mean, again,
those are my working weights. My PRs are higher.
Wow. Right. You say like at this age right now you are the strongest and your strongest peak, right?
Yeah.
So that means like 10 years ago you were actually like doing...
Okay, so actually in IMU in 2014 to 2016, seems like a lifetime ago, I actually helped to organize IMU's internal own powerlifting competition. Okay, and it was awesome because it was done in the atrium. Can you imagine the atrium? We have the squat rack, the bench press there, and 4 layers of people screaming at you. Okay, that was very, very cool. And when I helped to organize that, it was one of those things where I wanted to get staff involved because I wanted to break the barriers that it's just a young man's sport. But I also wanted females involved, so I got female student categories as well. And it was so cool. In fact, the loudest cheers were for the females who participated. You know, because it's like, what? Females lift too? Of course, why not? The human body is adaptable, you know. Unfortunately, it was a side effect. Young males being what they are, and the hormones and the ego comes in. Many started lifting more than they were capable of, and a bunch of them got injured. So that's why the competition is not happening anymore. Okay, particularly in the deadlift. Yeah, but what I'm saying is, at that point, about so to say 10 years ago, I was stronger because I was working only for strength. And the way I was training was the 5-3-1 method. So I'll do 5 reps, 3 reps, and 1 rep. And then I'll vary the weights and all that. So at that point, my bench press, the highest I was 130 kilograms.
Wow.
My squat was 150 kilograms, and my deadlift was 210 kilograms.
Wow.
Okay. That was my max, 1 rep max.
Okay.
Having said that, I will never want to do that ever again. Because I started realizing, and this is true, especially after that competition at one day, and my last lift was the deadlift. I mean, I was so happy to reach 210 as an example. Because so 3 years. My first year was 180, second year 200, third year 210. It took me about 6 months to recover. Not by an injury perspective, but I didn't realize it set my central nervous system so much. It took so much out of me that for the next 6 months, I couldn't train normally. I was always tired, I was always lethargic, I just couldn't get the pump back, I just couldn't, because it sapped me so much. And I started realizing, because as one ages, right, your recovery, it just slows down. So yeah, I could lift that much, but it took so much out of me at the same time. So because it took so much out of me, I couldn't go back to my normal working weights. I couldn't get that feeling, that enjoyment. And that's why I never want to do that again. You know, I'm happy I've done that, but I also saw the effect it had. So nowadays, especially when I'm older, I have to focus on recovery a lot more. For example, if I were to ask you how often you work out, so that could mean a combination of your on-court plus gym or running. How many days a week do you work out?
For me, like, to be honest, if I'm in
Sure. In peak condition, yeah, sure.
And if I follow my routine exactly, it's 5 days. So it's basically 4 days in the gym. I'll do every single day upper and lower body.
Upper, lower, sure.
And on the last day, on the 5th day, I do sprinting or plyos.
Plyo, okay.
Yeah, and if it's training or like just playing outside,
Right.
maybe 2 or 3.
Yeah. So you're looking at 5 days minimum.
Yeah, 5 days.
Minimum, okay. So I can't do that. The most I can do is 3 times a week, and the most I can do is slightly more than an hour each time. But when I do it, I'm focused. I don't have my phone with me, guys. Don't bring your phone.
Wait. Sorry to cut. But your workout was 3 hours a day, is it?
No, 3 hours total. 1 hour a day, 3 times a week. So let's say Monday, Wednesday, Friday, just slightly about an hour each. That's it. Because what I was guilty of before when I was younger, so was this. The harder I work, the more work I put in, the more results I should get. If a little is good, more is better. That kind of mentality. No. The body only recovers at rest. You can only recover and recuperate and grow when you're at rest. And rest means not just sleeping, but actually not working out and feeding it appropriately. So this was something I started realizing. The moment I started incorporating at least 1 day of rest in between, I started making progress. So nowadays, when every once in a while I'm just itchy, let's go 4 days a week, I feel like I'm pumped. Boom, it hits my central nervous system pretty hard. I don't feel the pump. I'm like half dead in the gym. I'm like, no, my body can only handle 3 days a week.
Actually, I'm just curious,
Yeah.
right? In terms of like rest and recovery, right? Have you like tried like isometrics, without those heavy weights?
Okay. So one of the things is that I do nowadays, keep in mind that I'm coming from the perspective of 50-plus-year-old with family, with kids, with a relatively demanding job, okay, and demanding students along the way, okay. And so what I'm saying is, the little time that I have to be very focused, and the rest of the time I cannot think about working out or doing active recovery in any sense of the word, because I have to maximize the time, the little time that I can carve out in my week, in order to hit myself, hit it hard, and leave and move on with life. So this is where I think some people get caught up, like, no, I need to carve out a large chunk of my life for this, and therefore give up family time, partner time, work time, personal development time. So at the end of the day, these people look good, but at what cost? There doesn't seem to be quite a balance in life, Whereas for me, I know what's important to me. Family, very, very important. Okay, doing a good job, very, very important. Okay, being with students, very, very important. But I also need that little time for myself, and when I do that, it's just me. That's why I don't bring phones to the gym. Okay, I just focus on myself, get in, get out. But the rest of the time, I don't even think about working out. I have to move on with the rest of my life. So in that way, I can kind of have that work-life balance so that I'm not obsessed about always improving. So when it's time to hit the gym though, I'll be honest with you, sometimes it's intimidating. I intimidate myself. It's like, oh no, I have to lift heavy again today. Can I? Oh, you know, because it is hard, because you reach a certain level, like, oh my gosh, I have to do this all over again. So what I do right now is a little bit different. What I do right now is I go in with the thought of, okay, by the way, whenever I go to the gym, right, realistically, I don't know what exercises I'm going to do. Why I'm saying that is because it depends on how many people are in the gym and what machines they are using and what machines they're sitting at and scrolling. Oh my gosh, I hate those people. But what happens instead is, because of my wealth of knowledge, so it's like, okay, machine A is not available. Machine B, the person's just sitting there. Okay, let me do something else instead. And I'm okay. So my body gets a little bit of different stimuli every single time. Honestly, I have a plan. The plan never happens exactly as is, but I'm okay. So it's always slightly different stimuli over time. And my body over time gets a little bit stimulated a little bit here and there differently. So it over time though, it's a very interesting side effect. It gets quite well developed from multiple angles. Not by plan, but by necessity. You know? So if let's say the easy bar curl is not available, I use a straight bar. Straight bar is not available, I use the dumbbells. Dumbbells not available, I use the machines. No problem. You know, worst case, if I can't use it at all, I will do pull-ups. Okay, this way, so that it hit my biceps as well. So that's what I'm saying. I'm not afraid now, because now I have a lot of knowledge and background and understanding of human body to put my body into the certain position in order to extract the most out of particular exercise. So it's not that I had to do this particular thing, because I see people getting angry, you know, and they want this machine only, and now, and it's not necessary. It's really not necessary. So I've also learned to be flexible, and therefore it's fun. So every time I go to the gym now, it's like, what exercise I'm going to do? I don't know, but let's find out, and let's see how creative I can be and stuff like that. So that kind of keeps me going and excited. And I'll be honest, it's also quite fun when I'm lifting and I look in the mirror and I see the guys like it's so motivating. Yes, I'm vain, I acknowledge that, but it feels so good because it's not, and again, let me clarify, I'm not comparing myself to them, because you know, people start and I want to encourage them, but I'm comparing myself to myself, and I'm comparing myself to people my age group, and I'm just so different, and I feel I want to continue to do this. In fact, I just want to share a tidbit with you. In Malaysia, we actually have a weightlifting champion. He's 80 plus years old. He actually won gold medals for a few years in a row for weightlifting.
Wow.
He's a small frame Chinese man, and he's winning every year. So this is actually my goal. I cannot compete with the God-given genetic freaks out there. But what I notice is that these people don't keep working out once they're in the 40s and 50s because they've achieved their goal.
Yeah.
I will be around. Okay, and I will continue to do this. And so I actually have plans when I'm in my 60s and 70s to possibly enter some competitions because no one else is going to show up. Okay, or they may not be consistent, or they may have been hurt, or they may have been abusing their body through, you know, other means.
Yeah.
And I'll be natural, I'll be healthy, and I won't look the best, but overall, I'll be the healthiest looking on stage. Because that's what I want to portray. So that's actually my goal. So I'm not giving up on that fact. I may actually enter a bodybuilding or weightlifting competition because just statistically speaking, less and less people will show up.
True.
So the chances of me actually getting into the medals is really high. But again, I feel confident because I'm maintaining what I have, and that's the difference.
Actually, right, I mean, because we're running out.
Sure, I can go on.
I think like just one last. I mean, so just now you mentioned about 3 hours a week, right? So I guess you find that 1 hour every day.
Yeah, I mean, like 3 times a week. Yeah.
Suits the balance between what you prioritize and what you want to still maintain.
Yes,
right?
yes.
So that 1 hour is sufficient.
Yeah.
Okay, as an athlete, right,
Sure.
I mean, I always have a question for bodybuilders, which is, do you stretch and do you do cardio?
Okay. Again, I'm going to make a lot of people unhappy here. I'm following the latest research here. I never stretch. Okay? One of the reasons is because if you do an exercise properly through its full range of motion, you're already building the stretch in within. Okay? So, if you take any exercise, if it's a machine or free weight, if you take it through its full range of motion, you're already building in the stretch. Okay, so also, very interestingly, if you were to stretch prior to lifting, you're actually going to weaken the muscle. Okay, because what you've actually done is, you know, the amount of tension and the ATP that's in there, you're ready to fire to lift that weight, you've actually stretched it out and you've actually used up some of it, so that when you try to lift, you're actually not going to be as powerful. Actually, you can look up the research for that as well.
I mean, it's the concept of like, the best warm-up is the exercise itself by a low intensity.
Yes, correct. So the best warm-up is that exercise itself in that angle. Because when you do a general warm-up, let's say you put 5 to 10 minutes on a stationary bike, that warms up your blood, but also your lower body. Nothing to do with upper body, right? So that's why I do modify something as well. I take my time warming up in the particular exercise. So if the fifth set is an example, the heaviest, I will pyramid my weights up slowly. So yes, some other people by the second or third set they can do their work set, not me, because the joints are a bit older, got injuries before, so you just want to slowly warm up to that point. And as I'm doing it, I just warm up and get to the right angle so that I get to the right position, so I'm confident when I lift the heavy weight, my work set as an example. Yeah, so again, everything I do keeps the sustainability and the consistency there. Rather than having something stop me, I'm now learning how to overcome each of these mini barriers or many issues in order to overcome. So things like building in a warm-up, being flexible in the type of exercise I choose depending on what's available, making time when I don't bring the phone, I just focus on working out. So that all that gives me the hope, and also not to mention gives me the stimulus and the excitement of knowing that as I get older, I can still lift the same amount of weight or even more. I also have another plan. I actually have a goal of lifting the stack on every machine in the gym. I'm on my way there slowly. I'm not going to rush on that, but that is a goal, and one day I'll put a video out on that.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. I think just to like one last question for us to wrap this up.
Yeah, sure.
I'm just really like to ask you like what is like the advice would you give to new lifters, people who are around their 30s,
Sure.
you know, when they start to decline, and also basically at your age.
Okay. Look, start with aesthetics in mind. You want to look good, that's what's going to strongly motivate you. No issue with that. But beyond the aesthetics, know that somebody else is just going to have God-given genetics better than you. And it's no use to compare to them because you'll feel down and low. But compare yourself to yourself in terms of whatever progress metrics. For example, if you're a runner, can you run longer at the same time? Okay? If you're a jumper, can you jump higher, further? If whatever the metrics is, compare yourself to yourself, because ultimately that's what matters at the end of the day. That shows you're making progress. Whatever the metrics of progress is, keep that going to keep you coming back, to keep working out, to incorporate that as part of a lifestyle. Don't ever think, oh, I've achieved the goal, now I can take it easy. On one hand, you can do that, but that's not going to be sustainable. But let me give you an insight. Once you've achieved the goal, let's say your strength goal, it's much easier now to maintain that rather than having to do a lot of work for that anymore, just to maintain that. Even for size. Do you know that it actually takes about 4 to 5 sets a week per muscle group to maintain size, and actually just 2 sets a week to maintain strength. That's it. So sometimes when times you're busy, you got exams, you got life happening, do the minimum but do it. Because now that you can maintain that, you're not going to lose anything. You're going to maintain, and then when you have time, you go back up again. So what I'm saying is, it shouldn't really matter at the early stage or not. Keep it exciting. Keep making progress. Add a set here, add a rep there, add a bit of weight here. The small weights are your friends, okay? And compare yourself to yourself. And over time, your physique will change, your mentality will change, your outlook in life will change. and then you get invited to podcasts like this.
Yeah, I guess that wraps up today.
Sure.
Thanks for having Mr. Alex.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
I love this.
Yeah.
Okay, see the forearms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For
Thanks.
some reference, he's very, very strong. I mean, 150 squats is basically my squats itself. Yeah. And I don't bench as much as you do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
it's a
Long
wrap.
term, guys. Long term.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for joining us here today at Mamak Muscles. See you next time.
Yeah. Thanks.
And that's a wrap.
Ah, it was so fun.